Throb forever. Yo, heart throb. But anyways, y'all can see the title of this particular video is Toby, the American Negro, or Kunta, the African American. And obviously that's a play on the character Kunta Kinte from the movie Roots, so it's a play on that whole deal. But Toby the American Negro or Kunta the African American, like, how do you feel when you hear those phrases? What do you think? What do you think about when you hear Toby or Kunta or African American or American Negro or Negro? And I mention those phrases, Toby, Kunta Kinte, American Negro, African American, to put something into perspective. I did a video over a year ago titled, I See What They Did. And that video talked about how I realized that they flipped the civil rights movement and the Civil Rights Act, which was fought for by American blacks, into a movement that ultimately gave unearned rights to African Americans via the Immigration Act. Now, I'll say that again. I realized that they flipped the civil rights movement for American blacks into a movement of unearned rights for African Americans via the Immigration Act. Now, the crucial point to this is, why would the Civil Rights Act need to be fought for in regards to a people who were not in America at that time? Why would civil rights need to be fought for Africans or Caribbean islanders or anybody else that's phenotypically black when they weren't majorly in America at that time? It was only American black people who were fighting for these rights. This means that the Civil Rights Act and just the rights in general were fought for by and specifically by American blacks because of what, American blacks was going through in the country at that time. It was not immigrants who was being blasted with fire hoses, having police dogs attack them, being lynched and having the churches bombed, while the men, women, and children were inside the churches, bombing the churches with the men, women, and children inside, or being denied the right to vote through, gerrymandering and just flat out terrorism. There were no other ethnic groups, majorly phenotypically black, that were going through that. That was a fight that American blacks fought for. Only American blacks fought for those rights because they were the ones being affected by that terrorism. No other phenotypically black ethnic group fought for those rights in America. Not in majority, they didn't. Yet, every other ethnic group is benefiting from the spilt blood, the lost blood, and labor of American blacks in regards to civil rights. But none of their countries, none of these other countries will automatically give American blacks those same rights in their countries. And the citizens in those countries, they would have an absolute conniption if American blacks came to their country and got those rights and demanded those rights in those countries, those rights and benefits that the native inhabitants of those countries fought, bled for, and died for. They'd have a conniption about it. We can't go to their countries and do what they do here. And here is where the whole quote unquote plan comes in, so to speak. I don't know who's behind it. I'm just saying this is what I see and what I'm concluding. This is just my own conclusion. 1968 was a time of unrest and upheaval for American blacks. Specifically, all of slavery, but particularly when it got to the abolishment of slavery, from all the way up to 1950 through the 1970s. This is when a lot of outright oppression of American blacks was for the first time being viewed around the world due to the television. That technology of TV or the television allowed American blacks' mistreatment to be televised around the world, and it couldn't be hidden anymore. So also during this time, Alex Haley was doing his research for the movie or the book in the movie Roots. And I think it was around this time, 1964, 65, he finished the book for Roots, got a publishing deal with Doubleday Publishing in 1969. And after the book publishing deal went through, he got approved for a TV series film deal in 1976, and it aired in 1977. That TV show that aired was Roots. Now, I mentioned this book and movie Roots because I see it as a part of a plan, of a plan that they had to misplace American blacks from their rights and their land, and basically to disconnect them from their lineage and attribute it to someone and somewhere else, thus causing them to forfeit any rights that they had fought for during civil rights. Let me say this again. I see the movie Roots being part of a plan to get American blacks misplaced from their rights and their lands, basically to disconnect them from their lineage, and that disconnection would cause them to attribute their rights and their identity to someone and somewhere else, causing them to forfeit any rights that they fought for. So this is why I asked, how do you feel when you think about these phrases of Negro, Kunta Kinte, American Negro, African American? So bear with me, let me make the connection. I feel like the movie Roots was used to confuse and mentally program American blacks against their lineage and position through vivid and traumatic imagery and word morphology and word deception. That movie Roots was used, in my opinion, to program American blacks against their lineage via using vivid and traumatic imagery and word morphology and word deception. Now, first off, the imagery of Kunta being beaten with the whip, for the American black viewers, young and black, seeing the whip and hearing the whip was traumatizing to black viewers, because seeing that, it just reinforced to older blacks and younger blacks that this type of thing could, would, and did often happen to our people and to us all the time by white people. So my viewpoint is that this was propagandic terrorism. And I say that because we didn't need to have those types of things reinforced. We saw it every day. Our people saw it every day on TV. Like today, you can't get away with doing stuff like that just on TV. Like, there's too many people that will complain about how they're being depicted in movies and stuff. And also, during that time, the average American citizen wasn't aware of, TV programming and marketing and how TV affects the mind and how the images affect the mind. Like, we didn't know nothing about that. So that movie with that vivid imagery, it was propagandic terrorism to me. Like a reminder of, this is what we'll do to you if you get out of it, or you remember what we did to you. Huh? That's how I'm taking it. And secondly, Kunta was being beaten to make him submit to a name change from Kunta to Toby. You see what I'm saying? So this movie, that's one of the most memorable scenes, is him being broken into saying that he's not Kunta anymore, he's Toby. That's why I asked, how do y'all feel when you hear the words Toby and Kunta Kinte and African American, American Negro? And real talk, we as American blacks, we don't like either of the words for real. We don't like Toby or Kunta. We hate the word Toby because the movie programmed us to associate it with a American black man, or a black man, period, whether he African or American black. It made us associated with a black man getting the dignity beat out of him and being made a slave. Y'all know if we call somebody Toby, that's not a you don't want to be called Toby. If we call somebody Toby, that's the ultimate diss. That's like the equivalent of like Uncle Tom or slave. Even though Uncle Tom is, that's, our culture has kind of flipped that too. That's a whole nother story. But then Kunta Kinte, we don't like that name primarily because it's not our culture. We can't identify with the name because it's not from where we're from. Not that the name itself is weird, but phonetically it sounds weird to us. And then it disconnects us from our American black lineage. You see, all of this is subconscious. Now, here's the thing. In the Hebrew, the word Toby means good. That's what it means, good. And personally, I believe words are actual power and conduits of, being able to manifest reality. So when I figured this out, I took grave offense to the movie Roots and a lot of other movies because I started seeing what they was doing. Like the word Toby means good. So we get programmed to hate a word that could actually benefit us spiritually and reality-wise. But we typically don't like the name Toby because of what we associate it with. But the word actually means good. You see? In the Hebrew, it means good. Now, let me give you another example. During slavery, and we got plenty of documents of slave narrative on how, the slaves used to talk. And we also got plenty of film and actual real life hands-on testament from our own relatives and stuff, because some of us still talk like that today. It's just ingrained in us on how we used to talk, and a lot of us still do talk. But watch this. So how did the slave during slavery and pre-civil rights folks, and even today when we talk amongst ourselves, how did the slave used to respond to white people or the slave master when they were forced to do something or told to do something? When the slave master or white people told black people back then to do something, what did the slave or black people used to say? And we still say it to our own people today. What did they used to say? Yes, sir. Yes, sir. That's what they used to say. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. You see? Now, we know that it's pronounced yes, sir. Yessir. But phonetically, we said it, yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Or even in the churches of today, or even when we are around our own families and we in agreement with somebody that's saying something that we connecting with, that, the pastor or the minister, whether you're in the mosque or church, when they get going and they getting the people, in the spirit and the people feeling good, you got the men, they in there, yes, sir, yes, sir, yes, sir. You see what I'm saying? We know that it's saying yes, sir, but we phonetically, vernacularly pronounce it yes, sir. Now, here's the thing. The word yesah in the Hebrew means savior. Y-E-S-A or Y-E-S-H-A. Y-E-S-A, yesah, or Y-E-S-H-A, yesha or yesha. The Hebrew letter S or sin with the S sound, and the Hebrew letter shin with the sh sound. Yesah and yesha or yesha both mean the same thing, and it means savior. Yesah means savior in the Hebrew. Now, a lot of us hate saying that to white people because saying yes, sir, to white people or any damn body because it reminds us of slavery. That's why we don't like to do it. We ain't saying yes, sir, to nobody. Like, F that. We don't like doing that no more. They programmed us and our ancestors and our actual lives and in these movies to respond to our terrorizers with yes, sir. So indirectly, they were tricking us into calling them our savior by saying yes, sir. Like, do y'all see what I'm saying? So we have, we have them making us hate the word Toby by tricking, they made us hate the word Toby, which means good. They tricked us into calling them our savior with yes, sir. And here's the final thing. Then it made us hate the word Negro and tricked us into accepting the phrase African American. Because Negro is just Spanish for black. And we call ourselves black today with no problem. So before 1988, we only used the term American Negro as our racial and ethnic identifier. That was our racial identification, American Negro. Most all of the textbooks, dictionaries, you know what I'm saying, all of that stuff, most of all the old books refer to the peoples of the Americas as the copper-colored peoples of America. Now, we all know what color copper is. And and most American blacks in America, from then to now, that hue and the skin color that we have is what copper looks like. So they knew we were not African because they didn't refer to us as African. Not one time. Like, seriously, the people who were supposedly bringing us from Africa didn't call us African Americans. They were calling us the American Negro. They could have easily named us African, but they knew in majority we were not from Africa. That's why they didn't call us African or African American before 1988. Before 1988, we were Negro or colored. Now, what's funny is that Negro and black mean the same thing, as I just told y'all with the Spanish. Negro means black. But Jesse Jackson and whoever he plotted and planned this phrase morphology with, they came up with the idea to legislate in 1988 to change, 1988, to change our ethnic identification from American Negro to African American. And the government let him do it. But we didn't ask for that. We didn't ask for that ethnic name change. And the question is, why did they want to change our ethnic identity phrasing? And now that we're aware of changing our ethnic identity phrase, they want to label it black identity extremism. You see? Because we're in control of it now as a group of people, not as one individual who said, like, he didn't ask us if we wanted the name change. So we were not African American before 1988. And I conclude that name change was done to erase and disqualify us from our civil rights that we fought for. To erase and disqualify us from that, and then, by proxy, give them to a new buffer class of phenotypically black immigrants who would fall under the new phrase of African American, because they know that we're not from Africa. They know that we aren't African. So they made us think that they were giving us these civil rights, but they wanted to switch it and really give it to African immigrants who will be coming in. So we would still be left with nothing in the bag. And basically being forced to fight with these new immigrants for resources that were legislatively supposed to be given to us. Now we got to fight with people who weren't even here, dying for what our people were in the streets fighting for, forcing us to fight with a new buffer class of phenotypically black immigrants for stuff that was owed to us. But this new class of people coming in are getting it, and they didn't have to put in any fight in America for what we were being oppressed over. Do y'all see this? We have never been to Africa. So how are we African American? Our ancestors, grandfathers, grandmothers, ain't none of them ever been to Africa. And who would be more African American than, an actual African from Africa that is now living in America? Not us. You see what I'm saying? American blacks. So when they say African Americans, they're not referring to us, and they know it. We're what they call what a lot of people who've been spreading the word about who we are, and they have plenty of channels there are plenty of channels of people who've created videos and stuff about who we are, and they revealed a terminology called the autochthonous American blacks. The majority of us are the autochthonous American blacks of North America. Now, that's not to say that we don't have some Africans and Caribbeans that were forced by slave ships to be mixed in with us here during slavery and Jim Crow. Well, not Jim Crow, but during slavery. But those people, they would have been with us, from the 1700s onward, because they were there then. And those people, those Africans and Caribbean islanders that were with us from 1600 and 1700 on, they was with us at that time. So they became part of our exogenesis as well. So they are us because we mixed in at that time frame, 400 years. But those that came after slavery was abolished, those that came after slavery was abolished, you're not American blacks. You're African American or Caribbean American or Jamaican, you know what I'm saying? Haitian. So they made us hate being called Negro, which means black. But also, we hate the word Negro because American blacks, we associate the word Negro with the word nigger. That's why I asked y'all, how do y'all feel when y'all hear these words like Negro and all of that? Most of us, we associate the word Negro with the word nigger. So yeah, we would be like, okay, yeah, change it. We don't want to be called Negro because we associate the word nigger with Negro. But that's nigger doesn't mean Negro. And Negro doesn't mean nigger. And we know that they flipped that word too. We know that they flipped the word nigger because y'all know about the words nagas, N-A-G-S, or negas, N-E-J-S. Naga, N-A-G-S, or negas, N-E. Let me get this right. Nagas, N-A-G-A-S, or negas, N-E-G-A-S. Nagas and negas. Those words are not the word nigger. Y'all got to look those words up and see what they mean. But when you had those white Southerners, they respond to you, nigger, nigger. But those two words, they're phonetically saying it, but then telling you that they're calling you a nigger. You see, but nigger and nagas don't mean the same thing. Nigger and negas don't mean the same thing. Nigger and Negro don't mean the same thing. You see, because the word nigger comes from a word that means niggard, N-I-G-G-A-R-D, or niggardly, N-I-G-G-A-R-D-L-Y, niggardly or niggard. You see, they flipped all of them words. They flipped them all. They flipped all of that, making us hate those words. And now that we come into understanding this whole delineation thing, you know, FBA, American Black, American Negro, we are self-determining what we want to be called. You know, but they made us hate the words that I was speaking of prior. But now, as a group of people, here we are reclassifying, renaming ourselves, renaming our ethnic group. So FBA, American Black, American Negro, all of that's fine with me. But we're not African American. We're American Black or American Negro. And now that I know and I realize what they did through these word morphologies and this trickery with wordplay, I prefer to be Toby, the American Black or the American Negro, not Kunta, the African American. I hope y'all see what they did. I hope y'all see what's happened. I'm out. Heart throb forever. Heart throb forever.